Dexter Morgan lives in Dexter Resurrection, but is the new show what fans were hoping for? Or is it divisive and disappointing? I'll let you know.
Somebody once told me, you have to go through hell to achieve resurrection. Hallelujah.
Hi, my name is Bob, and welcome to another review here on Was It Good? And today we're going to be talking about Dexter Resurrection, which sees the return of Michael C. Hall as Dexter Morgan. Now, this review will have some spoilers in it, so if you haven't seen the show yet and you're a fan of Dexter, this is your warning. Now, if you have seen it, why don't you go ahead and drop a comment in the comment section below and let me know what you thought about this season and where it ranks in comparison to other seasons of the show. With that being said, let's get to it. Following his close encounter with death, Dexter Morgan is once again drawn back into a dangerous cycle of lies, murder, and survival. While trying to manage his darker urges, he is also forced to confront the challenges of being a father, a balance that adds more weight to his choices than ever before. As Angel Batista comes closer to the truth, Dexter finds himself up against multiple killers and a powerful benefactor that might be the most dangerous one of all. I was late to the party when it comes to watching Dexter, but a couple of friends of mine had really been encouraging me to watch the show, and so I went ahead and gave it a shot, and over the course of a couple of months, I watched the original 8 seasons, New Blood, and Original Sin. And I thought it was a very well-written show, well-acted, and I thought the story was very engaging. But I do understand why several fans found the latter seasons and New Blood to be very disappointing and divisive. But once I saw the trailer for the new season, it looked promising to me and seemed like something that could satisfy Dexter fans. The question is, was it satisfying? First off, I think that this story was much more engaging than the story in New Blood. I found myself getting into it a lot more, and there are several different story elements that I really enjoyed about this. The first is the father-son dynamic that this one had as opposed to New Blood. The relationship between Dexter and Harrison is much more fleshed out, and Harrison as a character, I think, is much more likable. The way New Blood ended, they obviously didn't end in a very good place, as in Harrison actually took out his father, and it seemed like that was going to be the end of Dexter, but thankfully we're getting more, and that relationship got fleshed out a lot better. I think this is what New Blood tried to be, but this series did a much better job with it. And the way that the two came back together, in that Harrison commits this crime and he disposes of this body in the way that his father taught him, and that actually prompts Dexter, when he finds out about it, to go and help his son because he knows his son is in trouble. And the way that they came back together, I thought that was very good. Like I said, the relationship in this one is much better, and I enjoyed it much more, and it really added some emotional depth to the season. The next story element I enjoyed was the return of Angel Batista and his interactions with Dexter. It was very clear that these two were going to be on opposite sides as opposed to being friends like they were in the original show, and that added a new wrinkle to everything, so I really enjoyed their interactions. There's this one particular scene where Angel is in this car with Dexter and he tells him, "I know you're the Bay Harbor Butcher," and you see Dexter give him this warning that says, or he says, "If I am who you think I am, you might want to be careful." And so I thought those interactions were very interesting to watch because, again, it's a new wrinkle that we haven't seen before. And as things turned out, it didn't work out very well for Angel, as he ends up losing his life from one of this benefactor, Leon Prater, and Dexter tries to save him, but it doesn't work out. And Dexter and him have this moment together, and again, the interaction is very emotional. The performance by the two actors is very well done. And those final moments of Angel were just something else that really, it kind of hit home. Or, well, it really tugged at the heartstrings, we'll say. And so overall, having Angel back helped bring back that classic Dexter feel, and I really enjoyed the return of this character. And speaking of classic Dexter feel, having Harry Morgan back as the conscience of Dexter was a very welcome return. Don't get me wrong, I know why they tried to have Deb be that voice of reason for him in New Blood, but it just didn't work. You needed Harry Morgan there because he, after all, is the one who taught Dexter everything and how to get away with everything. So having him back was a much welcome return and really was a highlight of this story. The final story element I enjoyed was the incorporation of the serial killers. So you have Dexter, who finds out that there's this killer who's going by the name Dark Passenger, or that's the name that the media has given him. And so he takes it very personally because Dark Passenger, that's my thing. And so he takes him out. And when he takes him out, he finds out that this particular character has been invited to a dinner party of other like-minded individuals, other serial killers. And so he goes and he meets this benefactor, Leon Prater, who's funding all of these serial killers because he has this fascination with this type of person. And so he gathers them all together and has these dinner parties and stuff. And so Dexter infiltrates this, pretending to be the Dark Passenger. And he meets all these different types of characters, and it's basically a buffet of killers for him to choose from, and each one of them offered something different to the season, and I really enjoyed them, and they were all played by very good actors. One particular one that I really enjoyed was the character of Lady Vengeance, because Dexter thinks she might be a like-minded person, and it turns out no, she's just like the rest of them. And the way her story unfolds is actually a way for Dexter to help his son. So I enjoyed the incorporation of all these different killers, because after all, that's part of why we watch Dexter, because we want to see him take out these individuals. And so I enjoyed all the different types that were there and how they were brought into it. And that brought in a very interesting villain in the character of Leon Prater, because he might be the most dangerous one of all, because he has the funds to actually fund these people, and he also has a fascination with them that once he finally gets his first taste of it, you realize he's going to be something very dangerous, and Dexter knows this. And so ultimately it ends up with him on Dexter's table towards the end. And that's another thing, the way that this ended, I thought felt more like actual Dexter, because the way New Blood ended, you had somebody on Dexter's table like on the next to the last episode, and then you had this whole other episode of Resolution where this felt more like Dexter, where you had this finale where somebody ends up on his table and you have Dexter doing his thing and the police are trying to figure out what happened. So the ending felt more like Dexter to me and was much more satisfying, and also this left it open for much more Dexter to come. So the incorporation of the different killers and the way that this ended, I thought was much better than what had come before. Also got to talk about the performances, because I think they're good across the board. There's actually way too many good performances to point out. You got David Zayas back as Angel Batista, James Remar as Harry Morgan, you got Kristen Ritter, Neil Patrick Harris, Peter Dinklage, Uma Thurman, and like I said, there's just way too many to name, but they're all very good. But once again, Michael C. Hall is the highlight of this series as Dexter Morgan. As you see this inner struggle that he has, this actor just nails this character. He's basically on autopilot with him, and he is fantastic in the role. You see Dexter trying to balance out his darker urges and his life that he's trying to have with his son. And so once again, this actor is just elevating this character to a whole nother level. So great performances across the board, but Michael C. Hall once again nails it as Dexter Morgan. There's one final thing that I want to mention, and that is that there are several cameos and callbacks in this show. You see several characters that we've seen before, and some of them were a surprise and was kind of cool to see them. And then there's this scene where they're touring Leon's vault, and you see several different items, some of which were from the earlier seasons of Dexter. And so having those callbacks were a lot of fun. So it really brought in the nostalgic factor into Resurrection. And so I really enjoyed that aspect of the show. Now, there are a couple things that I want to mention here. First off, I don't think there were enough interactions between Angel and Dexter. I really wanted to see more, because it was fun watching Angel trying to catch him and seeing Dexter, how he would outmaneuver him. And so I really wanted to see more of that. I felt that was kind of underused, because those were some of the best moments of the season. And so I wanted to see more of those. Also, the character of Detective Wallace, it took a while for her to grow on me. She was investigating the murder that Harrison was involved in, and as a result was investigating Harrison. So her character was important, but early on, she just wasn't clicking for me. Now, by the end of the season, I really kind of began to like this character, but early on, she just wasn't clicking for me. And finally, there's this friend of Harrison. I believe her name was Elsa. And I kind of wondered what happened to her because once Harrison's love or lust interest came into the season, she all but disappeared. And it felt like they were going somewhere in this arc between, or this relationship between Harrison and her, and it just kind of fell off the map. So those are the things that I wanted to point out. But overall, there's way more good about this season than there was bad. Real quick, before I get into my final thoughts, I want to remind everyone to go ahead and check out the other reviews on my channel. Maybe I've reviewed something that you're interested in, or something that you've seen already and you'd like to let me know what you thought about it. Also, for those that are interested, I do have another YouTube channel with a couple of my friends where we put on a show called Dad's Turn to Talk. This is an opportunity for three dads to get together and talk about the things that we want to talk about, including movies, sports, pop culture, and have a little bit of fun at each other's expense. The link to that channel will be in the description below. Final verdict. Was it good? I thought Dexter Resurrection was a vast improvement over the previous revival. To me, this felt more like Dexter. It had compelling villains, an engaging story, solid performances, and an ending that felt very satisfying, at least to me. If you're a fan of the series who has stuck with it this long, I do think that you'll enjoy it. And for those that left, I think this might bring some of them back. For me, it's a solid 8 out of 10. And to answer the question, was it good? Yeah, it was. Now, if you're still watching this long, I'd like to thank you for joining me. Don't forget to hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time.